It just so happens that in the Bashir documentary, which I studied it and I have a copy of, and then I was able to see the outtake footage because that was shown in the courtroom. And in the Bashir documentary, you see Michael Jackson. Bashir comes in. He happened to have been there for the baby dangling incident. And he comes into Jackson's hotel room, and he's in Germany, and he says, "Can't you understand how the world doesn't see that this is a good thing that you took your baby and dangled out the window?" And Michael says, "I didn't dangle the baby. They're trying to make a big deal about it because from the camera angle, it looks like I was dangling the baby. There were 2,000 fans outside the window that were screaming and chanting to see my new baby, and I walked outside there with Prince, and I walked outside there with Paris, and I waved to everybody, and they really wanted to see the baby." He said, "Why would I want to hurt my child? When I finally went out there to show them the baby, I held the baby out, very tightly gripped, and came back in. It was for 1 second, for 2 seconds, okay?" But he says the media just played it over and over and over again and made it look like I was trying to drop the baby. He says, "I'm not crazy, I'm not stupid. I would never drop my own child. I'm a good dad." And interestingly enough, Bashir was eating this up, okay, because he's playing Jackson. And you don't know that unless you see the outtake footage, but he's totally playing Jackson. And Bashir's saying, "Well, you know, you seem to be a good dad." And Michael's now shaking the baby. He's rocking his child blanket, you know, he's rocking the child on his knee. And he says, "But why do you have the baby covered?" He says, "Why would you show it to the fans if the baby's covered anyway? They can't." He said, "Because they wanted to see the essence of the child. That's how I'm not going to have my children be a Lindbergh baby. They can't see. He's afraid of his children being kidnapped and ransom and all of that." And then he said something interesting. He said to Bashir, he said, and Bashir said, "But the child seems upset." And Michael said, "Well, actually, the child's upset." He says, "Blanket's upset because I think the cameras are bothering him. Your cameras are bothering him." And of course, that wasn't in the documentary. That was in the outtake footage. That, you know, you think to yourself, you know, yeah, everybody wants to pick on Michael Jackson for being this nut who's trying to throw his kid over a balcony. And every time I do a show on this book, by the way, they always show the balcony scene. It's always there. And, you know, it's truly unfair for people like Gloria Allred and Dr. Carol Lieberman to have the audacity to take it upon themselves to file charges against Michael Jackson because they saw the baby dangling and decided that he was an unfit dad and he should have his children taken away from him. You know, suffice it to say, I take umbrage to that, and I find it to be media serving for them. They're interested in getting... Carol Lieberman called a press conference to announce that Michael Jackson should have his children taken away. Who is she? She's not his psychiatrist. She's a psychiatrist who's looking for media attention, and I'll say ditto to Gloria Allred.
When you're a public figure of that magnitude, the burden of proving that someone maliciously tried to state false facts about you, it's a high burden. People do sue. He certainly could if he wanted to. It would involve a lot of time and effort that, you know, I certainly haven't talked to him about it, but nevertheless, you can file lawsuits, obviously, for libel and slander, and they are filed a lot. But you have to, you know, almost eat, drink, and sleep the suit. So it becomes very time-consuming, and the question is, does the person want to go through that and relive all this stuff and be attacked again, or do you move on in life? And I don't know if he's even been, you know, talked to about that. I don't know.
I came to the conclusion that Tom Sneddon was, in my opinion, a racist because of a number of things. One of them was an incident in the courtroom where Chris Rock was testifying as the last witness, Tucker rather, I'm sorry. And here's this movie star in a suit and tie, and he's shown a photo. I have a copy of it here of himself at Neverland with the accuser and his family. And Sneddon said, "Is that you? You know, can you identify yourself there as being, you know, Mr. Tucker with, you know, and whatever with this family?" And he said, "Oh," and making a kind of a joke reference, he said, "I like that picture, actually." He said, "I'd like to get can I get a copy of it?" And Sneddon said to him, "If you're a good boy." And this courtroom went silent. And later, I discovered that the jury was very much annoyed and taken aback by that remark. Also, it's interesting to me that the only person of color of note in Santa Barbara County was Michael Jackson in 1993. And Sneddon had made it his job not only to go after him once, but to continue to go after him for 10 solid years. I wonder if Michael Jackson had been somebody else like Michael Douglas and others who have some things about them that I've heard rumors that could lead to potential criminal charges. I can't name the names, but I wonder why they've never been approached, and they're beyond reproach. So to me, that is evidence also of a racial bias. And you know, finally, the fact that he was so thrilled to have an all-white jury, or rather no African-American on his jury. He had a Hispanic, I believe, and an Asian woman. But to have two African-American women who were jurors that could have been selected and picked them off immediately with his challenges, and he was just, you know, the Cheshire Cat, you know, when Tom Mesereau accepted a panel without an African-American on the jury, again speaks to the whole notion that he felt that these were good chances that he could get this superstar. And you have to remember, Michael Jackson is a black superstar. So let's not forget that. I don't care what color we say his skin is and making fun of whether he's black or he's white. He is on the cover of Ebony today. He is a black man. That's how he introduces himself. That's who he is. And yes, I do think racism had a lot to do with this. Time magazine was always a Bible to me. I used it to teach when I was a professor for 7 years as a text, because I felt that my students should write about current events and not just Hemingway. And it was a gospel for me. It was a book that, a magazine that I read methodically, until one day when the O.J. Simpson case came along in 1995, and I was, like the rest of the world, horrified to discover that Time magazine decided to darken the color of O.J.'s skin on the cover of their magazine when they first reported the allegations against O.J. Simpson. Now, that's not to say that what my feelings are toward O.J. Simpson's guilt or innocence. I think he was found guilty in a civil court, and I will stick by that. I was there for the sale of all his items. However, I do believe that the media played a big part, in trying to create an agenda and a bias against him for his color, and the proof of it was the cover of Time magazine, and that shook my foundations about the media forever.
It is so true. We want to get our ratings. We'll try to get it any way that we can, and it's just difficult, and people are still judgmental. I can't wait till they read it, to actually read the book, and I just, you know, and they just judge him so much, whatever. So more news on that later. There's some things in the works with that, but we can't talk about that. Thanks for tuning in to Girl Mad Media. Thanks for coming to my office once again, and one day I'll show you the rest of my place. So girlmadmedia.com/special events. I'm going to update the website very soon, I promise. And go to YouTube, youtube.com/girlmadmedia, and you can see these clips and others. Good luck with the news press, finishing up the news press trials, and I hope that everybody gets their job back, and I hope that when they go back to work, that people, and Wendy isn't dissing the people that, you know, walked out, because it's hard, dude. Would you go back after something like this? Even if you did win, even if they did give you your job back, offer back, and you had that security, being able to be part of a union, right? You know, you see the power in the union and the importance of the union when we saw that writer strike footage. But if you got to have that union with the news press, and would you go back? I mean, don't you think that things would change? People would treat you differently? So, you know, if they want to go back, good luck to them, and I think they're gonna win. I know they're gonna win. It's, you know, it's a public entity, the news press, and yeah, somebody owns it. Well, that means she gets to keep the profits from it, but it doesn't mean she gets to control the news. So that's that. Larry is doing a great job with everything he's doing. Larry Nimmer, the man of Girl Mad Media.